Good morning and welcome to the 12th session of the Man Eater of Malgudi. I am Yashwant MP, Assistant Professor in English, working in Government First Aid College Anuru, Chamarajnagara, Karnataka. At home, Nataraj's wife unrolled a mat, spread a soft pillow, and insisted upon his lying down to rest. She did not listen to his pleading that he was perfectly normal. She prepared coffee and nourishment for him. She grumbled in the following manner: not eating properly, not sleeping, not resting. God knows why you wear yourself out in this way. Nataraj could not tell his wife about the possible shooting of Kumar and about what Rangi had told him. Therefore, he thought it best to accept the situation. The whole program of the procession was so well organized that his absence could not affect it. There was now nothing to be altered, and this was the chief problem as well. Neither Vasu nor the temple authorities were prepared to relax their plans ever so slightly. Each was moving in a fixed orbit as if nothing else existed or mattered. Nataraj's wife sat at his side, fanning him. He himself had no idea about what his state had been before he let out the shout about the elephant. His wife had dressed herself in the silk saree which she had reserved for special occasions. It showed that she regarded the temple function as the most important one. It depressed him to see her foregoing it for his sake. He implored her in the following way: please go and enjoy yourself at the temple. I can look after myself quite well. Don't worry about me. She ignored Nataraj's request and replied light-heartedly, I went there only because you were there, which pleased me, not that I care for these crowds. Babu was crazy about it and has taken out all the savings in his money box for sweets and toys. Oh, I should be with him. I could give him such a nice time, I said remorsefully. He will do us all a favor if we keep away from the crowd, she said and added, now sleep a little. I protested. Why am I being treated like a baby? I protested. ನಟರಾಜ್ ಮನೆಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಅವನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಶುಶ್ರೂಷೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಊಟವನ್ನು ಬಡಿಸಿ, ಆತ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗದೆ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, ನೀನು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೊರಗಿನ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮೈ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ, ಹೊರಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದು ಬೇಡ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಉಳಿದು ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. As Muthu was eager and anxious about Nataraj, he came to see him. He praised the big house and asked why he did not rent out a portion. Nataraj replied that he did not want to rent out his house. He continued that even if he thought of it, his wife would not like it. Muthu told that one should always listen to the advice of one's wife. When Nataraj's wife prepared coffee for Muthu, there came to see Nataraj, Sen, the journalist, the veterinary doctor, and the poet. Sen told that in spite of the shout Nataraj gave, the speech was successful. He then told that Nataraj was alright and that there was nothing wrong with the shout. He told that every free person had a right to shout. The veterinary doctor felt the pulse of Nataraj and told that he was in perfect gear. Nataraj thought that the veterinary doctor was trespassing into human field. The journalist told that he would send the review of the function to 30 newspapers the first thing next day. He would also send a special copy to Sahitya Academy at Delhi. Night fell, lights were switched on. Nataraj's wife began her work in the kitchen. When Nataraj fretted about the working of the functions, all the assembled friends assured him that everything went well. They asked him what actually had upset him when he shouted. He had to tell them about Vasu's plan. They felt incensed. They complained who that upstart was to disturb their function. They told they would inform the police and ask the DSP to seize the gun. When Natras suggested that they should change the route of the procession, they told that they would not do so for that man. They told that the route was fixed and it could not be changed. When Nataraj suggested that the procession might be dropped altogether, they told that it would frustrate thousands of persons. Muttu became extremely nervous about the elephant. He whispered, I knew something had been going on. It started long ago. Do you remember that tailor? He is a friend of Vasu, fancies himself a part owner of the elephant. And I heard he has already received money from Vasu. I heard also a rumor that it was Vasu who tried to poison Kumar. ಈಗ ನಟರಾಜರವರ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಹಾಗೂ ಮುತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ನಟರಾಜರವ್ರನ್ನ ಆರೋಗ್ಯನ ವಿಚಾರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆಗ ನೀನು ಆ ರೀತಿ ಕಿರ್ಚ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ನಟರಾಜ್ ವಾಸುವಿನ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. They sallied in a great rage and decided to tackle Vasu. They were a determined trio. Led by the journalist, they started out to meet the district superintendent of police at his house in Lale Extension. They hired Gafur's taxi for this purpose. The SP listened to their complaint and said, how do you know that he is going to create a disturbance? How do you know that he will employ his gun in the manner you suggest? He has an arm license, hasn't he? When it was asked if any person with an arms license can shoot at anything, the DSP replied, that depends. We cannot simply snatch away a licensed weapon because someone thinks it will be fired. When he was asked whether he would wait till the harm is done, he replied that he could not take action unless there is concrete proof. When he was asked if he could not do anything to prevent a possible damage, he replied that only a magistrate can do that within certain limits. However, he telephoned to the town inspector to do what he could do. A police inspector in uniform was there to receive them. They gave to the police inspector an account of impending trouble. When the inspector asked what the business was for their fear, they had no reply. The inspector, however, told that he would see what he could do. Sen, Muttu, the doctor, and the poet went boldly to knock at Vasu's door. They had the support and strength of a police inspector waiting below to appear at the lightest summon. Vasu opened the door but did not entertain them. He asked them to come the next day. When Sen blocked the door, Vasu told them that he could pick them and toss them downward. When Sen told him that he would not tolerate any disturbance, Vasu expressed his agreement with him. When Muttu told that he would not tolerate any harm to the elephant, which belonged to the god, Vasu told him to mind his tea shop and keep off the flies. When the doctor told him that Kumar possessed perfect health and that nobody could drive him crazy, Vasu told that though the doctor had taken the degree from America, there were no elephants in America and he knew nothing about the animals. He advised him to count his 30 days and draw his sinecure allowance. Sen worried him to leave their procession alone and told that people were there with their god. Vasu asked him if God was everywhere. Why should he be sought only in procession? Ignoring Vasu's statement, Sen, the journalist, told that there would be men, women, and children with the procession. Vasu asked him what could be done. He told that if men died in stampede, women and children should also die. He dwelt on reincarnation. He told that if a person died, he or she would be born within seconds with fresh body. He told that meals and shobhayatras were held so that more and more persons might die, and the population problem might be solved at this very moment. The police inspector appeared. He examined the gun, license, and the loaded gun. When the inspector asked him When he discharged his last shot, Vasu got infuriated and asked him to get out of his room along with a bunch of men who had no business there. At this insult scene, the journalist protested and Muthu jumped up and down in rage. Vasu asked the inspector to produce his warrant and threatened in the case of not producing it. Vasu told that he would complain against him for trespass. He said sternly, I will wire to the Inspector General and the Home Minister. You think you can fool me? Yes, you fool all these wretched bullock cart drivers and cobblers and ragamuffins whom you order about, whom you think you are talking to. ನಟರಾಜ್ ಮತ್ತು ತನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಹೇಗಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ವಾಸುವನ್ನು ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಕೈ ಬಿಡಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಹೆದರಿಸುವ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಅವನನ್ನು ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ವಾಸು ಇವರ ಮಾತಿಗೆ ಬಗ್ಗುವಂಥವನಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವರು ಡಿ ಎಸ್ ಪಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಡಿ ಎಸ್ ಪಿ ಅವರು ಯಾವುದೇ ಆಧಾರ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ನಾನು ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಪಡೆದಿರುವ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ಕಿತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಹಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೂಡ ಯಾವುದೇ ಆಧಾರ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ನಾವು ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರುವ ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ಕಿತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೂ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ವಾಸುನ ಮನೆಗೆ ನಟರಾಜನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರ ಜೊತೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆನೇ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ವಾಸುನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ನಟರಾಜನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ವಾಸುನ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ವಾಸು ಯಾವ ಮಾತಿಗೂ ಬಗ್ಗದೆ ಮೊಂಡತನದಿಂದ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ದೇವರ ಮೆರವಣಿಗೆಯನ್ನು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಜನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸಾಯಲಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ತಾನೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಬಹಳ ಕೆಟ್ಟದಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ವಾಸು. ದ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ವಾಸು ಟು ಡಿಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಗನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎ ಡೇ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್. At this, Vasu ordered him to put down the gun from where he had picked it up. Feeling insulted, the inspectors threatened him to arrest him for disorderly behavior, lock him up for the night or for any length of time under the Public Safety Act. He was about to blow his whistle and call the men who were patrolling the road below when Vasu snatched the whistle and flung it away. The inspector was enraged and tried to slap Vasu. Vasu brought his hand down on the inspector's wrist and dislocated it. The inspector screamed and recoiled as if he had touched fire. Tears welled up in his eyes, owing to pain. Vasu said, "You have hurt yourself. I did nothing. I never hit anyone. Years ago I made the vow. If I had hit you with my hand, do you want to see what would have happened?" He brought his palm flat down on the iron frame of cart and cracked it. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ವಾಸುಗೆ ಧಮಕಿ ಹಾಕ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನೀನು ಒಂದು ದಿನದ ಕಾಲ ನೀನು ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನಲ್ಲಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಆಗ ವಾಸು ಒಪ್ಪದೇ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕೋಪದಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಗ ವಾಸು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ನ ಕೈಯನ್ನು ಹಿಂದಕ್ಕೆ ನುಲ್ಚಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಗ ನೋವಿನಿಂದ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಿರ್ಚ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಗ ವಾಸು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ನಾನು ನಿನಗೇನೂ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀನೇ ನೋವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ಯಾ. ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಶಕ್ತಿನ ನಿನ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರಯೋಗಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ನಿನಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಆ ಕಬ್ಬಿಣದ ಕಾಟನ್ನು ತನ್ನ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಹೊಡೆದು ಮುರಿದು ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ತನ್ನ ಶಕ್ತಿ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಎಂಥದ್ದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. Sen asked Vasu if he knew what the penalty there was for assaulting a police officer in uniform. Vasu asked him if he knew what the consequences could be for trespass. Muthu and Sen threatened Vasu with consequences if he harmed the elephant or the people. The inspector told that he would take strong measures to punish him. They then went away. Nataraj knew all this through a letter of Sen. He was thinking all the while that he ought to visit the temple and take charge of the procession. But his wife would not allow him to go away. She had prepared a feast for him. This feast was meant to be a compensation to him for missing the magnificent flower decorations, the music, the lights, and the crowd. Nataraj's son came home with his school teacher and described what he had seen in the following words. ಈಗ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್, ನಾನು ಈಗ ಈ ವಾಸುವಿನ ದರ್ಪದ ಮಾತು ಹಾಗೂ ನೋವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾನೂನು ರೀತ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಕಠಿಣವಾದ ಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಧಮಕಿನ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ವಾಸು, ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ನೀನು ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಮೀರಿ ಬಂದು ಈ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋದಕ್ಕೂ ನಿನಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನು ಕಾದಿದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ವಾಸು. ಆನಂತರ ಸೇನ್ ಮತ್ತು ನಟರಾಜ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆಲ್ಲ, ನೋಡು, ನೀನೇನಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ಗಾಗಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಜನಗಳಿಗಾಗಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ತೊಂದರೆ ಮಾಡಕೂಡ್ದು ಅಂತ ಧಮಕಿ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. ಇತ್ತ ನಟರಾಜ್ ತನ್ನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಮನೆಗೆ ಬಂದು ತನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಊಟವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ, ನೀನು ಆ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಷನ್ನ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗದ ಕಾರಣ, ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಶೃಂಗಾರಗಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗದೇ ಇರುವ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಈ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಊಟ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ. ಆನಂತರ ನಟರಾಜ್ನ ಮಗ ಬಂದು ಆ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಷನ್ ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು, ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಬ್ಬದ ವಾತಾವರಣ ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ವಿವರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. The charity is made of jasmine birds and they have fitted small electric bulbs all over it. Father, I bought a sugar cane for the elephant. He snatched it from my hand and you know how quickly he ate it. I bought him another one and that left me with only 6 annas. I bought this visual. He produced from his pocket a reed and blew it shrilly. The Mahout has promised me to give me a ride on the elephant's back. My friend Ramu says that the elephant is borrowed and that it will go away tomorrow. Is it a fact, father? Let us have our own elephant for this temple. The Mahout has taught him how to take a garland from a basket and present it to the god. He is very intelligent. Father, please let me go and watch the procession. ನಟರಾಜ್ನ ಮಗ ಬಾಬು ಆ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಂತಹ ಘಟನೆಯನ್ನು ವಿವರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಈತ ಆನೆಗೆ ಕಬ್ಬನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟ, ವಿಷಲನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಕೊಂಡುಕೊಂಡ, ಹಾಗೂ ಮಾವುತ ಇವನನ್ನು ಆನೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೂರಿಸಿ ತಿರುಗಾಡಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ವಿವರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ತನ್ನ ತಂದೆಗೆ. Nataraj's wife served him food in a manner as if he were a rare guest. Nataraj praised his wife as an excellent cook. There was a knock at the door. Babu went to open the door and informed that Mommy had come. Nataraj's wife told his son to ask her to wait. Babu told that she wanted to see father. Nataraj's wife then asked him with a scowl on her face who she was. Nataraj trembled within himself and muttered with a feeble, feigned surprise, "Asking for me? It must be a mistake." When his wife went to see who there was, Nataraj called his son back and asked him who there was and what was she like. His son informed him that she was one dancing in the temple. The worst fears of Nataraj were confirmed. The exquisite food he had eaten turned poison. He knew that his wife was extremely jealous. She came and asked him what his relation with that woman was. He asked with affected innocence who the woman was. He raised his hands, wiped them on the towel, and asked for the betel leaf. ಈ ನಡುವೆ ಈ ನಟರಾಜನ್ನು ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯಾರೊಬ್ಬ ಹೆಂಗಸು ಮನೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾಳೆ. ಆಕೆ ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಟರಾಜ್ ಸಿದ್ಧನಾಗ್ತಾನೆ. He put on a deliberate look of unhurrying indifference, though he knew that Rangi was waiting for him. He went to the kitchen where his wife had served food for herself and asked her if there was enough food for her or had he eaten everything. She tried to smile, ignoring the caring affection, and told that she had asked the woman to wait in the passage lest the neighbors should see her. She had lowered his voice so that she might not be heard by Rangi. Nataraj whispered that his wife had done the right thing. He then asked her why she had come. She replied that it was none of her business to ask Rangi why she had come. ನಟರಾಜ್ಗೆ ತನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಮಾನ ಪಡ್ತಾಳೋ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಭಯದಿಂದ ಆ ಹೆಂಗಸು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾಳೆ ಅಂತ ನೀನು ಹೋಗಿ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅವಳನ್ನು ಅಂತ ಇವರ ಹೆಂಡತಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಟರಾಜ್ ಅವರ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಸೀತಾ ನನಗೂ ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ತಳ್ಳಿ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. ನಟರಾಜ್ made a noise of vexation and said, "What a nuisance. It must be something concerned with the temple. Can't I rest even for a day?" ನಟರಾಜ್ ತನಗೇನೋ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಆ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದ ವಿಚಾರವೇ ಇರಬೇಕಿದು, ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ದಿನವೂ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡೋಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇವರು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೇಳಿ ರಂಗಿಯ ಕಡೆ ಹೊರಡ್ತಾರೆ. Muttering in this way, he went towards the passage. Rangi was standing there. She had taken off her gandhi dance ornament and gaudy costume and was wearing a plain sari. He asked loudly what the matter was. She whispered that she wanted to know his welfare. He replied that he was all right. She told she could not ask him in the temple because she was on temple duty. She then asked if he would join the procession. She then told that Vasu had come to her residence and left orders that she should see him. When Nataraj advised her not to go to him, she told that in that case he would burn her house. He told her that he might murder her. When he asked her to inform the matter to the police, she told that he was not afraid of police. ರಂಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ, ವಾಸು ತನ್ನನ್ನು ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ತನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಕರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಹೋಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ರಂಗಿ ತನ್ನ ಮನೆಯನ್ನು ಸುಟ್ಟಿ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ತನ್ನ ಭಯವನ್ನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾಳೆ. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ರಂಗಿ ನೀನು ಅಂತ ನಟರಾಜ್ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ವಾಸು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೆದರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ. Nataraj's wife had finished her dinner and was passing up and down on various minor feigner duties and casting her sly sidelong looks at both of them in the dark passage. Rangi was fearing at the prospect and weeping. She told that she had betrayed his trust and did not know what he would do. When Nataraj told that he would not allow him to do what he liked, she told that he did not fear anyone on earth, in heaven or hell. When Nataraj told that he was a match for him, she told that he was strong and obstinate and none on earth could change his mind. She was obsessed with the grandeur and glory of Vasu. Nataraj told her that he was an ordinary bully and could be tackled. Rangi was desperate and anxious. She told, "Now what shall I do, sir? I have come to you because I don't know what to do. I thought of going to him to see if I could get him into a good mood to listen to my words. I have cooked his favorite pulao." She whispered that a woman in her position had her ways. He again advised her to go home because he could prevent her from going to procession. Rangi, expressing her fear, told that if she did not go to him, he might set fire to her house and her poor blind old mother might be burnt alive. Nataraj assured her that he would send people to guard her house. She said goodbye and vanished down the moonlight street. ತನ್ನ ಭಯವನ್ನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ರಂಗಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಲಿ ಹೇಳಿ, ನಾನು ಹೋಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನು ನನ್ನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಹಚ್ಚಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಆತಂಕದಿಂದ ಬಂದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ರಂಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಹೊರಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾಳೆ. Nataraj went back to his wife who was tidying herself up in the dark chamber. Before a mirror, he told her if she knew what the matter with the woman was. He was struck by her cold indifference when she told that she was not interested. She called her son and told Nataraj that she was going to the temple. She turned a deaf ear to what Nataraj said. He sat on the pole looking in the direction to which he had gone. There was a silly little hope that she would repent her roughness and come back to make amends. ನಟರಾಜ್ ಈಗ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ರಂಗಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೊರಟೋದ್ಲಲ್ಲ, ಅವಳು ಪಶ್ಚಾತ್ತಾಪ ಪಡ್ತಾಳೆ ತನ್ನ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. It saddened him to remain detached from the procession. He felt like a man isolated by infection. He almost acted as a revenge on his wife, a plan to appear at the temple. Without creating a panic, he could navigate the chariot into a different route. He could have met DSP and could get changed the permit for a different route. He thought that only he could have done that. He swelled with his own importance, but he remembered that he was an outcast. He felt nervous of meeting the crowd. He began to think what Vasu could do to madden the elephant. God knew what trick Vasu might have up his sleeve. He could fling a firecracker from his window. He could bribe the torch bearers to hold the torch close to the feet of the elephant. He could tempt the elephant to swallow a needle stuck into a coconut or banana. He could get dropped an ant in his ear or get a grain of sand thrown in Kumar's eyes. These were the easiest ways of driving an elephant mad. Many persons might be caught and trampled to death, particularly if there was a stampede at the narrow band of the market road. People would thank anyone who shot the elephant at that moment. The poor elephant was enjoying all the fun and playing with the children. Somehow he must return to the goddess on the mountain road. It was impossible to conceive of Kumar stuffed and serving as an umbrella stand or waste basket in some fashionable home in the eastern or western world. ನಟರಾಜ್ ಈಗ ಆನೆ ಕುಮಾರನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಈ ವಾಸು ಈ ಆನೆಯನ್ನು ಹುಚ್ಚಿಡಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅದರ ಕಾಲಿಗೆ ಬೆಂಕಿ ತಗಲಿಸ್ತಾನ, ಅದರ ಬಾಯಿಗೆ ಸೂಜಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಹಣ್ಣನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾನ, ಅದರ ಕಿವಿಗೆ ಇರುವೆಯನ್ನು ಬಿಡ್ತಾನ, ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಪಟಾಕಿಯನ್ನು ತನ್ನ ಕಿಟಕಿಯಿಂದ ಹಾರಿಸಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೆರಳಿಸ್ತಾನ ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ನಟರಾಜ್ಗೆ ಈ ಆನೆ ಸ್ಟಫ್ಡ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದ ಯಾರೋ ಒಂದು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂಬ್ರೆಲ್ಲಾ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಗೋದನ್ನು ತಾನು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಯೋಚಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. Nataraj had to do something. His wife had gone out, expecting him to act as a watchman of the house. No one could judge when the procession would arrive at the fountain. There was no sign of the music yet. Only the hubbub of voices indicated that the crowd was still waiting for the procession to start. Nataraj felt angry at being left alone in the house. He thought he could go into the outer fringe of the crowd without being recognized. He could then study the situation there. When he walked to the end of the street, he met two men returning from the temple. They told that the ornaments from Talapur for the elephant were being awaited. Every hour's delay in the procession seemed to be an hour's reprieve. There was now no need to go to the temple, so Nataraj returned home and laid him down on the pole. Waiting and waiting, he fell asleep for hours. He woke up when he heard the drum and pipe music approaching. He guessed that the procession was in the market road parallel to his house. He got worried for his wife and son. Later, soon after, he found them sleeping in bed. ಕಡೆಗೆ ನಟರಾಜ್ ಈ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಈ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಷನ್ನ ಮೆರವಣಿಗೆ ದಾರಿಯನ್ನೇ ಬದಲಾಯಿಸ್ಬೋದಾ ಅಂತ ಯೋಚಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಈ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಬಂದು ತಲಪುರದಿಂದ ಆನೆಯ ಆಭರಣಗಳನ್ನು ತರೋದನ್ನು ನಾವಿನ್ನೂ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಗ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಕಾಟ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ನಟರಾಜ್ ನಿದ್ದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ನಿದ್ರೆಯಿಂದ ಎಚ್ಚರಗೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ವಾದ್ಯಗಳ ಶಬ್ದವನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿ ತನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಗುವಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗಾಬರಿಗೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅವರಿಬ್ಬರು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಬೆಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿರೋದನ್ನು ಅವನು ಗುರುತಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. He lay tossing on his mat. Far off the piper's music came from the procession. Nataraj followed it, visualizing all the stages of its progress. Now it must be passing the elementary school conducted on the top story of the chairman's sweet mart, a rickety terrace which would come down any day. It was much better for the procession to be at the elementary school than the fountain. The time was around midnight now, and it would take at least 1 hour for the procession to reach the market fountain. Nataraj had plans to join the procession and mix with the crowd an hour hence, so he thought of sleeping for some time more. When he woke up, Bhairavi was no longer being played. The music was coming from close quarters across the row of buildings on Market Road. The procession must be at the silkware house. The next stop would be the fountain. Nataraj was seized with anxiety. The procession was nearing the range of Vasu's window. Nataraj's duty was now clear. He got up briskly. He walked across the road, opened the back door of his press, and shut the door behind him. He was going to make a last minute attempt to stop Vasu from shooting Kumar, the elephant. He was not such a bad fellow after all. He would certainly listen to him. He was considerably mellower than before. He looked up at the attic. There was no light in it. Vasu was the prince of darkness. He conducted his activities in darkness. Nataraj was inspired by all sorts of wonderful and effective plans. He would enter his room silently and walk tiptoe to his side. Vasu would be watching from the window. Nataraj would stun him from behind and disturb him in his aim at the elephant. Thus he would save the elephant and thousands of people. But it was not a sure shot. Vasu might not be facing the window but facing the door. Non-violence would be the safest policy with him. The jeep was there. It might be a good idea to set the jeep on fire. This would keep him busy until the procession passed. But if Vasu saw him doing this, he would make a pulp of him. Then there was no one to bemoan his loss. His wife was separated from him. Babu's son would miss him for a few days, but he would later adapt himself to the new circumstances. His wife would learn a lesson that jealousy and sulking do not pay in life. ಹೀಗೆ ಎಚ್ಚರಗೊಂಡಂಥ ನಟರಾಜ್ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ವಾದ್ಯದ ಶಬ್ದ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಅಂದಾಗ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಷನ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ವಾದ್ಯ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಗ ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡೆಯ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ವಾಸುನ ಗುರಿಯನ್ನು ತಪ್ಪಿಸಬಾರ್ದು, ಆತ ಗನ್ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕಿಟಕಿಯಿಂದ ಶೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಹಿಂದೆಯಿಂದ ಹೋಗಿ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಗುರಿ ತಪ್ಪಿಸಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆ ಗುರಿ ತಪ್ಪಿಸುವಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸು ಕೋಪಗೊಂಡು ತನ್ನನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಹಣ್ಣಿನಂತೆ ಮುದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ನಟರಾಜ್. ಕಡೆಗೂ ಧೈರ್ಯ ಮಾಡಿ ನಟರಾಜ್ ವಾಸುವಿನ ವಾಸುವಿನ ಕೊಠಡಿಯ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. He climbed the stairs and found the door open. He gave it a gentle push and peeped in. There Vasu was. As he laid, visualized him beside the window on a long easy chair. The lights, the kitchen lamps, and the torches of the procession were illuminating the veiled walls of the moon. He had probably fallen asleep after waiting for the procession to come along. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ ವಾಸು ತನ್ನ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಮ್ ಚೇರ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ನಿದ್ರೆಗೆ ಜಾರಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಬಹುಶಃ ಮೆರವಣಿಗೆ ಬರೋದನ್ನು ಕಾದು ನಿದ್ರೆಗೆ ಜಾರಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಟರಾಜ್ ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. His decision was swift. He would make a dash for his gun and seize it. His heart palpitated and his breath came and went like a bellow. He crawled towards the gun. If Vasu woke up before he reached the gun, he would kill him. Nataraj was crawling. His knees were sore. Vasu was still asleep. Nataraj's fingers reached the butt of the gun. The procession was passing through the window. If Vasu woke up, Nataraj had the gun in his hand. If Vasu made the slightest movement, Nataraj would pull the trigger. At this moment, he was startled by the alarm bell of the clock. He gave a jump, the gun dropped from his hand, and he made a dash for the landing out of Vasu's reach. ಇದೇ ಗಾಬರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸುನ ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ ನಟರಾಜ್. ಆ ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ಹೇಗಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ತೆವಳುತ್ತಾ ವಾಸು ನಿದ್ರೆಯಿಂದ ಎಚ್ಚರಗೊಳ್ಳದಾಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಅವನು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆಗ ಗಡಿಯಾರದ ಗಂಟೆಯ ಶಬ್ದ ಇವನಿಗೆ ನಟರಾಜನ ಶಾಕ್ಗೊಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಶಾಕಿಂದ ತನ್ನ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದ ಗನ್ನನ್ನು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬೀಳಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ನಟರಾಜ್. ಆ ಗನ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ. Thank you for listening to me. We'll see the rest in the next session.